Hey guys, welcome to Crave Shock, a Grand Archive podcast. Episode 2, we're actually lucky to have a special guest on today. We have Nog here, aka Chris, one of the game devs of Grand Archive, and obviously my co-host Gaz. How are you, Chris? How are you today?
I'm good.
How are you, Gaz? What's been
Yeah,
going on?
good. Excited to have Dev and get
I
a
know,
few
right?
questions in.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good for us to be grinding and get some special guests on nice and quick. I think it's going to be really exciting. We're really appreciative to have a game dev on to ask some questions and obviously discuss some topics today.
Especially with the
Um,
time zone difference. We really do appreciate
Yeah,
it.
right. And we've got the audio on this time, right? We're not mis-recording.
I'm 99% sure. 99%
Yeah,
sure.
no. Hopefully that 1% doesn't come up. So yeah, Chris, just to get started, what's your Weebs of the Shore origin, or where are you from? What's going on?
Yeah, so like the other devs, I'm also based out here in Houston. I started going to the same card shop as they do, like maybe around 2014, 2015-ish, when for Magic the Gathering, their Shadows over Innistrad set came out, and I kept going to that card shop. So that's how I came to know them. Around the time of COVID, they started making a game, a card game, which was the alpha version of what is now Grand Archive.
Oh wow.
They tested like game mechanics, early designs, early classes, interactions, and all that stuff.
Hmm.
And they invited people that were going there to kind of play test with what they had. And I was one of those people. It seemed like an interesting game. So I became interested, starting helping them out, giving them my opinions on card design. And as their game started becoming more concrete. They wanted to expand the team because they needed more work in terms of designing the game, and so that's when they invited me to hop on, and so here I am now.
Wow, that's exciting.
So I guess with a small team, I guess you're a dev, you're testing and designing cards. But I guess with a small team, is there any other aspects that you have to do for the team?
I mean, so I maintain the rule book. I'm writing that now. It's around like maybe 67 pages long. Time
Wow.
flies. Um, Beyond that, creative writing as well, world building, lore. Since it's a small team, we're kind of involved in a lot of different facets of the game. So it's a lot easier to talk about what I don't really do
Yeah,
rather than
a
what
man
I
of many hats.
do,
A man of
you
many
know?
hats. Yeah, I understand that
Yeah.
definitely. Me trying to get involved in all the community stuff. It's like I can probably tell you what I'm not involved in, and that's probably like all the the game dev stuff. But I'm trying to get involved in all the community stuff as much as I can.
Yeah.
My question, I guess, is. Were you surprised when they did come to you with an actual, obviously, game dev opposition, proposition, etc., etc., or was it kind of leading up to that and you thought it was going to go that direction?
No, I mean, nothing was really leading up to it from my perspective. It was pretty, in my opinion, it was like kind of sudden. I didn't really expect it, but I was like, oh, this would be a really neat opportunity.
Yeah.
But since I kind of want to go down the career, like in medicine, become a doctor and all that stuff. I was pretty upfront about my
Yeah.
ability to contribute to the team, and they're like, yeah, that's fine. We just mainly need someone else to like help design. Since I play a lot of draft of Magic, it's like one of the only formats that I like apart from EDH.
Oh wow.
I brought that to the table and did my best to make the entire set draftable as well, apart from just the constructed design
We
of the set.
we appreciate that. We definitely do appreciate. We can't wait to
Yeah.
get drafting, me and Gaz. So,
Yeah.
and so your game background then is MTG. Is that what your main card game you
Yeah.
have played?
So mainly, yes. I would say technically I played Hearthstone before, like early in high school, and then Magic became my thing when I was in college because my suite mates played. I'm like, hey, I've heard about this game. It looks fun.
Yeah.
Make me a deck you think I'd like, and then they just kind of let me experiment with the thousands of spare cards they had in their room, and then I was looking for events and how to get involved with Magic, and then that led to draft and sealed and all that fun stuff, and then that's kind of when I got hooked into it.
What was your go-to Hearthstone deck? I was also a big Hearthstone player myself.
I mean, I was never really big and constructed almost
Arena.
ever for anything. I mostly grinded arena, yeah, and
Yeah.
I got pretty good at it to the
Yeah.
point where I
Nice.
could pretty much go infinite. So
Wow.
that was a lot of fun.
I used to. I'm not sure if you played Hearthstone, Gaz, but I used
No, I
to
played
watch.
Gwent. Gwent was my
Oh, Gwent
online
was
card
good
game.
too. But no, Hurst and I used to love watching This Guy's Toast and Trump SC and all them, where they would sit there for 8 hours and they would go infinite. And then I'd jump in my arena run and I'd go 1-3 and be like, don't understand how they do it, man. It's
They
crazy.
The go-to I watch is Crip. I like watching his
I
gameplay a
can't
lot.
do it. I can't do it. He puts me to sleep. I can't do it. I was actually off topic. I played some Path of Exile over the last week or two, and I tried to watch one of his new Path of Exile videos, and I just can't do it. He just talks. He's like, "Hey guys, Crip
Yeah,
here."
he's
And I'm
pretty
just like,
dry,
yeah,
but he's a smart dude and a smart
he
card game
is.
player.
Yeah, it's very true. All right, so release in a couple months. We're all pretty hyped for it. Obviously, first edition, hopefully coming in the next few weeks. I know that as obviously we can't expect it all to be there on time, but we're hoping that it's every week at locals. I'm like, next week, guys, we've got our first edition boxes. Don't worry, get ready for next week. And then
Been
the
at
following week,
fulfillment center for about a month.
yeah. So we are hoping, obviously, that's on its way. But how are you feeling about, I guess, launch and for April and for the Kickstarter stuff? Where do you see it?
I mean, it's exciting, right? For our team, it's a sign of how far we've come from this being kind of a passion project to get where it is, and how much the community has kind of helped back us and fuel us to where we are now. I mean, we couldn't really do it without the community that we currently have. So it is awesome to see how many people have been enjoying the game that I've been helping to design. So it's pretty rewarding.
Are you
Yeah,
surprised that there's already locals going on? Like we've got locals with print and play at the moment.
10 people last night.
Yeah, and we're getting.
I mean, surely. I mean, it's bigger than I thought it was going to be. This is my first time, being a card game
Yeah.
designer. I don't think many people will can say they've done that.
Hmm.
So anything really is kind of going to be a surprise to
Yeah,
me in that
yeah,
sense,
yeah.
you know?
I, I mean, locals last night, Gaz. We had Water Zanders, we had Wind Lorraines, and then Starter Deck Fire Eye won the tournament. So it was great fun last night. Speaking of locals, but as you just said, like having 10 people turn up to play with starter decks and paper cards, that obviously shows that there is a love for the game, and there is a
Mhm.
community that's passionate to start getting involved as soon as they can. And like as me and Gaz say all the time, like I am itching. I want to open my boxes yesterday. Like I dream about my boxes at this point. I just want to build all my cards. I want to build all my decks. And right now I'm just like I don't want to cut it out. I just hope they come so I can start making these awesome decks and get people involved. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, having them in your hands is a different feeling for
oh,
sure.
100%.
As someone
Yeah,
that
So
I
yeah,
hasn't, I've been borrowing other people's print to play, or I just play like one of the starter decks because I'm like, oh, I'm not printing. Who owns a printer these days? Let's be honest.
yeah. We currently have a guy gets to our locals 2 hours early to pick up the Wind Lorraine before anyone else can get it, and then because it's probably like the most maybe strongest out of the decks there. But yeah, he'll get there 2 hours early to grab the Wind Lorraine from the store to then play it and try and win the tournament that night. So people are desperate. And then you've got, I think there's a guy that he goes to Officeworks every week and pays $25, gets all his cards printed off for his deck for the week, and then plays it and then says it's, oh no, this is crap, and then he'll go print another deck the following week and
Yeah,
pay $25 for it.
he's using good. He's using like thick cardboard. So
Yeah,
like he's trying to like mirror the feel.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
which is great.
yeah, as long as he doesn't try sell them online, I think we're good.
Yeah, yeah. Let's hope not. Hey, it's like I've got real cards now. Let's just chuck these up. No. So yeah, I think that moving on into, I guess, on online, the online community. Are you surprised with, I guess, how many people are talking in the Discord as well? Is like the same feeling, or did you expect it
yeah, I
leading
mean,
up it
for
would get this
sure,
big?
it's great. Early on when the community was so small, we'd have to be so active to actually teach people how to play, to answer all the questions, and now it seems
Now I
like
play
it's
all the
pretty
starter
much,
games.
yeah, it's like running itself. We have people like you teaching people how to play. It's great.
I'll check my phone on the way home, and it's like, oh, this guy wants to learn to play. Oh, do I play? No, I'll teach him how to play, and I'll go and teach someone to play instead of playing like Path of Exile or whatever.
No, it's been good. I'm getting like very specific questions about like certain cards. Like, oh, I'm playing Fire Lorraine. Do I use this? Do I use that? Or like the Winzander. So like anything that I guess I've played. Um,
Mhm.
And it's interesting because like I put it out there, but I didn't think people were actually going to message me. So like actually getting messages and has been nice.
Yeah.
People are just passionate and they want to get a strong deck and they want to get involved. And you know the fact that we had another Melbourne player yesterday who's like he's playing Grand Archive on the other side of the city. We'd never heard of him. He's in learning. I'm like I mean we're not the only ones building communities in Melbourne. I guess there's like other people. Like it's getting spread and there's a lot of people kind of rising up now that are joining, going, hey, this is out in a few months. You know what can I learn, etc. etc. Your deck building video, Gaz, it's like popping up. It's non-stop gaining viewers because these new players are coming in and they're seeing and they want to learn how to play and deck build and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think I can guarantee, I officially say every single person I've taught has had a great experience with the mechanics and wants to play more so far. So
Yeah, that was my experience running demos when we went to AnimeX as well. Like it was just a fantastic experience. Even though I lost my voice for 3 months after that
yeah,
convention, it was just day in day out running demos and overall just a positive experience from everyone I taught. So it was also a good feeling.
I think
yeah, I
that's
ran.
definitely like what got me into the game. Like I'm not massive like on like collections or building. I like playing games competitively and I like just game mechanics. And then playing the game and it's like you'd finish a game, like even the games I was losing at the start, I'm like I want to play again. And it's like I just want to
Mhm.
keep repping out. So I think it's a testament to that the game's built well.
The
Yeah.
fact that like yesterday I messaged Gaz going, Song of Return, this is great. I have to put 4 of this in my deck. I need to go try it. And you'll see me at like 1 a.m. I've just finished locals. It's 1 a.m. now. I've played for 4 hours. Hey, someone looking for games, someone I want to try this deck. And Jerry's like, have you had enough today? I'm like, no, I have now a new card I've seen again that I want to try to see if it changes anything. And that's a great feeling to have. That it's not like, all right, I've made the fire deck, I've made a wind deck, I've made a water deck, I'm done. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
great that there is that, oh, this might work, that might work, this might go into the meta.
Are you
Yeah.
worried about that? Like on that flip side
Mm.
of like keep like power creep because of the deck building so wide.
So power creep, I don't think is as much of a concern to us as it is in other card games, just because we can essentially compartmentalize a lot of design to the specific classes with class bonus.
Yeah.
So that's a big help there. There's other constraints with just the game mechanics, like allies that attack right away, that clearly constrains your design for size of allies that you can make. It there's you box yourself in with the mechanics you have for a game in a way that makes it healthy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Constraint breeds creativity.
Yeah.
Yep. There'd be cards in other card games that card created causes so much strife to make future cards because of that card. Like, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
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 One good example I can throw out there, and this was mentioned in the Discord, there was some discussion about like a drawn blade being for warrior and what's to stop, let us from making an exact same card essentially, but for guardian with guardian class bonus.
Yep. Yep.
Would be a like guardian blade, one for one cost, one blade that has class bonus, draw a card.
Yep.
So in theory we could do that, but the interesting thing here is because we want each class to be flavorful in its own regard and mechanically unique from the others,
Mm.
that poses an interesting design problem that also makes us want to think about how could we make this like essentially the same card for Guardian, but have it be a Guardian card and clearly not a Warrior card.
Yep. Yep.
I was about to
And
say, do we just get a spoiler that Guardian uses a sword?
It's just an example of a
Yeah.
possible design. But I mean, the possibilities are essentially endless, right? I mean, we could make a 1 cost, 8 power, 8 health ally if we wanted to. Probably not for a
Yeah.
really long time, and not without
Yeah.
super hard restrictions. But nothing's impossible. So
I
that's
feel-
the beauty of it.
I do feel like you guys have done a great job, as every champion does feel different, and you do feel like you are playing a different ball game. It's not like a situation where, it's not a situation where you're just like this card, this deck, this deck, this deck, all 3 different champions, but all play the same. You guys have done a great job to do that. So that is really good.
Assassin, as a designer, was probably the more interesting one to make because the flavor of Assassin is like pretty well understood. You're trying to be sneaky, you're trying to get your hits in.
Yeah.
You do critical damage, so that's the mechanic there. But going into the advanced element, light, there's a little bit of counterpoint there because how do
Mm.
you design an assassin that feels like an assassin but is light? Because it
Yeah.
seems a little counterintuitive. So that was one
Yeah.
of the more fun designs and interesting points of designing the set that
Yeah.
we had.
I guess
Uh,
when I looked at the assassin with light, kind of like it's like blinding light, so you're still out of sight. Like if I'm thinking of like theme,
Yeah.
Right.
I also like that a lot of people are happily shocked that it didn't go the generic assassin into a shadow element of some sort.
Yeah, I
You know what
mean, there's always time to be like on the nose as far as designs go. Like Warrior's pretty clear. You have a
Yeah.
sword, you attack with it. It's pretty linear, but it plays to a theme that's intuitive.
Yeah.
For Assassin, we didn't want to just make another class that just uses weapons and attacks just like Warrior does and has allies just like Warrior does. So it
Yeah.
has to play differently to be unique, to give a different feel, to give different players what they want to experience in the game. Otherwise, people would only either play Warrior or Assassin and think that one's better than the other, which
yeah.
Correct.
I think we're happy with the way the design turned out where that's not the case.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I think that the only card that goes in all of that is Gildas. And that's it. And then that's pretty much the as Silidar did say to me, I think a few weeks ago, Gildas was probably supposed to be Wind, potentially. Because all the Wind decks just have Gildas in the deck. Which is a great
Uh,
card.
Yeah, it's probably just a result of Wind probably having the most flexibility to controlling hand size since
Yeah.
most of the spells are relatively cheap compared to the other ones, and
A
it
lot of
gives
free
you a
costs,
lot more
yeah.
flexibility, a lot more bounce this back to your hand, trade this card for two, trade three cards for one. So it gives you
Yeah.
a lot more ways to reach that balance that you need to
Yeah.
activate Gildas, where for the other class it's a little bit trickier.
Yeah, I do believe that balance was a great actual keyword. I think that's a really fun keyword because being able to
Cleans it up.
play a Gildas, reclaim it. It gives you exact enough to play Gildas again next turn. I have so much fun with Gildas. I love it. I nearly try to put it in every deck I can. Are
I'm not a
you are
fan. Not a
you
fan of Gildas.
are you pleased with where the meta is at, or do you think that the meta is on track to be where you thought it would be? Like, what's your opinion on the current meta based on what you see in the tournament?
Has anything surprised you?
Yeah.
So nothing's been too surprising, honestly. We kind of expected that, Lorraine would be overrepresented and have a large meta share early on, especially after we released like the full set list, because for the better part of a year, all people have been really doing with Prelude is playing either Wind Lorraine or Fire Rise. So that's kind of the two ways people know how to deck build and
Yeah.
what they're used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever you introduce all these other cards in the set, that opens up deck building, by a magnitude of possibilities that you could be playing. It's a different ball game. People have to go out there and experiment, figure out what's right, figure out what's wrong,
Yeah.
figure out what cards are good for constructed, which ones might be, a trap card or bait.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's figuring out those little things, and I think the meta is still developing.
Mhm.
We're kind of happy with the direction it's going. We've seen a lot of viable builds. We've seen a lot of people use things as they've been intended. We've been kind of surprised in some respects as far as the creativity of how some decks go,
Yeah.
and others are not so much. And we feel that we've accomplished a lot of the design goals we've had with this set.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I definitely
That's
feel
great.
like once, I guess, there's a bit of a gap between tournaments. I know I've thought to pigeonhole myself into just playing Lorraine, but I do like, I think Sylvie's just unexplored at the moment.
100%.
And then like, I
100%.
think even like Xander, like there's a water build reveal starting to show, but like I still feel like Win Xander seems very viable. That just isn't seeing enough play.
I think
Yeah.
that, like, obviously following up with what Chris was saying, because Win Lorraine, Fire Eye have been played so much repetitions,
Yeah.
that running these new experimental decks with new cards into a Win Lorraine or a Fire Eye or any type of Lorraine player, you're automatically disadvantaged because these people who are playing these Lorraine decks have played Lorraine in its, general base hundreds of times potentially. And it's like, okay, well, they know they have to go level 1. They want to pay flowing memory for that. They want to go to level 2 and they want to sweep if they can to draw cards. And then they want to go to either kill you there or go to level 3. Like that is the
Yeah,
generic.
they've
where,
gotten used to the gameplay loop.
yeah, yeah. So then
Yeah.
these new decks could be good, But it's like you make this like this. This is me 100%. I'll admit this. I'll make a deck. I'll throw it in. I'm like, this is gonna be great. Versus a Lorraine player, get destroyed and be like, delete. All right,
Yeah,
let's get
because I
another
hear
deck.
it. I'm
Yeah,
like,
you hear it.
let's rep it 20 times and we'll make changes. It's like, nah.
Nah, you gotta start again.
He'll play deck
And
1, deck 2, deck 3, and then like, nah, I'm back to the drawing board. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
The interesting part about that is the whole constructed metagaming is that yes, you might have a creative idea for a deck that might just get absolutely stomped by a certain strategy, but maybe there's another deck that beats the deck that beats yours, but you beat the deck that beats
True.
that deck.
Yeah.
So it becomes balanced in that sense.
I actually prefer when there's like one top deck, because then it's very targetable, or you can target the deck that's going to target that.
I mean, you can like, talking about actual tournament data stuff, just to bring up, we had the community market tournament about a week and a half ago, still going. Gaz, you are in the finals.
Yep.
Congratulations. You have the finals, I think, over the next few days, correct?
Yeah, playing 40.
So what deck did you play?
I am playing Fire Lorraine.
And what did you say last podcast?
That I was moving off Fire Lorraine.
So you told everyone you're never playing Fire Lorraine again, and here you are in the finals with Fire Lorraine.
To be fair, I versed someone that had watched the video that I put out and was holding the deflecting edge. One person zephyred my sword because they're like, I watched that you played Ascension on it, so I was like just waiting for you to do it. So I'm like, okay, maybe if I tell people I'm not playing Fire Lorraine, then if I play Fire Lorraine,
everyone took their deflecting edges out. Gaz isn't playing Fire Lorraine.
But this deck was combo. So the deck was combo.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's the thing though. Like as I was trying to say, like the meta isn't in place because we had a Corrupting Rye into I can't remember who won after that. I think it was a Water Lorraine, and now it's like a Fire Lorraine. So it's like this is going full circle around. You know what I mean? There is so much stuff going on. We haven't had 2 tournaments in a row where it's like the same element and champion winner.
I think that's not going to happen until like release, until there's like heaps of people playing, and then there's just much more data.
Like, because I said last podcast, I'm like, there's going to be 8 water this tournament, and we're looking at top 8 breakdown: 62% with fire, 25% water, 12% wind. We had 4 Fire Lorraines in the top 8 and a Fire Xander. We had 1 Water Lorraine Maker, and it was actually the winner from the last tournament. So, actually, really good, really cool that the meta is swapping that much. You know what I mean? So that's Win Lorraine obviously finished 5-0 in Top Cut, which there is a high amount of Win Lorraines in the meta overall through January of all tournaments, which we've probably had 4 tournaments in January. We've been really lucky actually. I think we've had 3 or 4 now.
Which makes it hard to like try new decks.
31% of all players were Win Lorraines. So that's
that's not too surprising as well, because considering, again, it's a growing community, you're going to have a lot of people excited to try out these new decks, these new cards, play this new game, engage in the tournaments. The easiest and most undaunting thing that a person can try is going to be a linear strategy. It's not going to be something that's super combo or super metagamey. They're going to probably pick warrior that has to equip a sword, play some allies, and attack. And that's a good initiator to get them into Grand Archive. And that's probably where a lot of these new players that are engaging with these tournaments are at before they get used to the game and try out other strategies, like something that might be more strategically advanced, like, let's say, Water Xander, where you're typically biding your time and only until you're level 3 do you win the game.
To be honest, Xander's felt like the most fun, but like is also like he's the hardest to pilot. Like from it's much harder to pilot than like a Lorraine.
I think so. I mean, I'm also surprised because as we said on the last podcast, we had the 5 altar cards that were moved in. We were allowed to play them in the tournaments, which is great because those are some pretty crazy cards. 2 very strong tamer cards we talked about. No Sylvies still, which was interesting.
Probably need some time. But on those 5 altar cards, how'd they come into? So they're not in the first edition. They've come out with altar. What was the development around them?
So we initially designed these cards to be in the next supplemental set, which is going to be FTC. So those cards were originally going to be in there, but we decided to move them up for altar. We had the space to do so. And we hope that gives the meta a little bit more flexibility. For if you want, we can go one by one, and I can kind of go through the thoughts we had in the designs themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds great.
So starting with, let's say, nullifying lantern.
Yep.
Uh, as more graveyard strategies are released, we need more cards to interact with the graveyard. And since, floating memory is a thing, since water is going to be doing a lot of graveyard counting strategies, since fire already has strategies like that, we wanted to make sure that there was a kind of a safety valve on that, if it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, of course.
So having it earlier rather than later, I think gives a lot of flexibility to the meta. The next card probably we can talk about is some like Bestial Frenzy.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the Tamer support cards. We wanted to design this card because Tamer, when you're behind on the board, it feels kind of bad. And
Yep.
it has the hardest time getting back on the board when it's lost it, since the allies are so big that you lose it. It's such a tempo loss that it's hard to regain.
Yeah.
Giving Tamer a lot more tools to be able to synergize with the beast, the large beast you're playing, and giving it a wider toolkit in terms of things it can do. We believe it will allow Tamer to play better from behind and stay ahead when the game needs it to be.
Yeah.
Young Beast Bonder kind of plays a similar role. It's just a little bit more synergy, a little bit better ways to get your level up, a little bit more floating memory, so helping out Tamer in all those aspects. The other one, Frostsworn Paladin, is probably an interesting one.
Very strong.
That's seen a lot of play already.
Yeah, a lot of play.
Yeah. So the idea for that is for water, water is going to have the most floating memory compared to the other basic elements. That's just going to be pretty much core to the design philosophy. It plays really well with the flavor and the design of water being slow and advantageous. That said, we do want to give water a lot of meaningful ways to use that advantage in ways that other elements really can't make use of it. And one of those ways is to turn floating memory into something useful, like card advantage or bigger
Board
stats.
control. Yep.
So that's like Sun and Snow is the other one where you can
Right.
use floating
That's
memory.
another one that has a similar design principle to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those concepts go into what makes Frostworn Paladin. The last one I think we can talk about is Spark Fairy.
Yeah.
So out of the cycle of fairies that we wanted to make, one for each basic element, this was the trickiest one to design, actually, because all the fairies, they do something mechanically flavorful within their element.
Yep.
And fire had to be one of those that was annoying and persistent, but not overly brutal, so that it makes the damage efficiency per card cost better than even other playable cards. As well as we didn't want it to be too weak. We needed to be on parity mechanically with the other fairies. So this was maybe after like 7 or 8 iterations of Spark Fairy, this is what we decided on, is the current version of it.
And I think that the community is very appreciative, and not many companies would do something like this. I feel like you guys, I've always said this, I say this to everyone I can, you guys are always listening, your ears to the ground, you talk to the community, you do care about what the community has to say. And that shows right here when you're like, well, instead of waiting till later to bring out a nullifying lantern, bring it out now, so at least then people aren't going to come in and be like, okay, well, that's uninteractable, this isn't fun, or whatever. They now be like, well, there is this decision, there is that decision, you lose a material slot, but you may feel a bit more safer into said matchup. So the fact that you guys are happy to move stuff from a set 2 or whatever it is down to a set 1 like that, to kind of, I guess, just make it feel a little bit more not balanced, but a little bit more, you have more options to put stuff in and play stuff, is a great thing.
When was the time, like, to add these cards? I assume the community was still only playing with Prelude when you made the decision to add these cards to Altar.
So it's just kind of a foresight sort of thing.
Yeah.
We anticipate with the design constraints that we have, and the room of all possible designs for cards we have, and the base mechanics that we've introduced with things like graveyard counting strategies and floating memory and fire, being able to banish fire cards from the graveyard for added effect. All those things they need a sort of safety valve to them. If you look at a lot of other card games that do a similar thing, they have their own cards that kind of shut off some other specific strategies while also not trying to be, a mainstay in every single deck. I will talk Magic because that's what I'm most familiar with, but
Yeah.
how many times in a standard set for Magic have you seen an effect like Grafdigger's Cage or something
Yeah.
like Tormod Crypt or Orb
Yeah.
of Progenitus or
Yeah.
Relic of Progenitus get printed?
Yeah.
So
Jukabog.
it's the same kind of concept.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
So I guess with the tournament, and we had a lot of Fire Lorraines, we had a lot of these combos and stuff, guys, with Fire Lorraines running in Soul this week. It came out of nowhere, didn't see it coming. But at the same time, not whether it's connected or not connected, we did have our first rule change since we had all the cards revealed. In Soul was changed officially to the rule book. Are you able to talk about that at all, or why it was changed?
Yeah. So this will be the long answer to maybe what people have seen in the Discord.
Yeah.
It was the rule that we initially put in the index, which was that the swords that get to attack as allies don't lose a durability counter. It kind of contradicts the rules that we have set in the game, which is that if a weapon is involved in an attack, just generally speaking, it should lose a durability counter.
Yeah.
So when those weapons attack, it'll now match with the rules that they lose a durability counter.
Yeah.
That's funny because that's how I first played it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only functional change for it to make it more consistent with the rules.
Do you feel as though, I mean, it may be neither. Do you feel as though it is a buff or a nerf to Install, or it's non-different changing?
It's not really either or. It just makes it a different card.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're not using the durability, then your weapons are staying on board, so you can use them for, let's say, if we design a card later that says sacrifice a sword and draw 3 or something like that. Then there's an interplay there. It works with Blazing Throw, it works with Dispersion, but now when it's more consistent with the rules and you don't have them stick around, they lose those synergies. So in effect, it becomes a different card. But it works better in another respect with Lorraine Crux Knight that gets better power from the swords that are banished.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit here and a little bit there, but in the end, it's just a different card, just to make it more in line with the rules, if that makes sense.
I honestly think the deck is still viable. You'd probably just I think we'll see people take out Dispersion, and just put in a few more attacks, because once the sword's in the graveyard, Lorraine's just
Right.
Something I didn't know, and then when I played someone, I wasn't playing a Luxem sword, so I'm like, it's Luxem, not Crux, and then I'm playing it, and I'm like, mid-game checking the rule book, I'm like, are you sure you can bring this sword out?
That's the thing though as well, is that a lot of people that are getting their reps in, because as we said last week, we are playing on Tabletop Simulator leading up into the release and stuff. People are in there every day playing, using Sylvie.org thanks to Pichu, building up decks, getting on board. And these little combos and little rulings that you might not know from your demo deck, you're all of a sudden jumping in a game. People I've been playing. I played Sink into Oblivion yesterday, and I'm like, yep, I'll mill myself for 3. Throw a flowing memory out. And they're like, why are you milling yourself? Why aren't you milling me? And I'm like, well, I'm milling to get a flowing memory, and I'll level up. And they're like, wait a minute, oh my god, that's what that's for. And then they're instantly off to go build a deck. And that kind of interaction is great, because it's these people are getting the reps in and realizing this game is a lot more deeper than what the starter deck and the demo decks are. And the people obviously who can't play on Tabletop Simulator, they're going to have this rush of excitement when they realize that there's all of this flexibility and stuff. So it's really, really exciting and really fun to be involved. But Gaz, while I am on it, do you have any new decks on their way other than obviously the Fire Lorraine?
I have a Wind Rye that I think's close to being somewhat viable. It's not as consistent as I'd like, so I just need to tweak numbers. But actually, before we wrap up the tournament, I just want to shout out to VS Ply, who's running the Marketplace Discord and put up all the prizing.
I think, thank you a lot, 100%. So, what was it? First edition box for first?
First edition box for first, plus a deck box and a playmat and a holo Kingdom Informant, and then there's 5 people getting deck boxes. Heaps of playmats, so it's good to see people like that in the community trying to grow.
You know what also was great about that is that those prizing were announced after the sign-ups were closed, and everyone signed up with these like fun decks, and all of a sudden the first edition box was announced, and you've got like the most sweatiest serious players playing like the most off-meta random stuff, and they're like, oh, I just wish I could change the deck. But then, you know, it's a perfect example that like all of a sudden you could see X off-meta deck do well in that scenario, and you're like, wait a minute, this is actually good. You know what I mean? I am hoping, you know, in the future to have some more fun run community tournaments where it's obviously they'll still be hopefully be prizing and stuff, but maybe something more fun and like you're, you know, making a deck at random or something like that.
I like that.
Instead of having every tournament, you know, life or death, serious, not serious. So that would be very exciting.
Keep in mind that the set will be draftable, so there might also be draft tournaments.
I play a fair bit of Flesh and Blood still, and I love drafting.
Yep.
Drafting's one of my favourite formats.
I love drafting too. I think at our locals we'll be having some first edition drafts, hopefully, fingers crossed. Good Games Greensboro, hopefully he'll let us do that, but we're very excited to get any drafting in general. I think Byfall was actually working on some type of randomizer where we could start drafting if he could get it working. That would be amazing. It'd be very exciting. Also, during this week, we had an event in the Discord. We had the Guess the Art. Gaz, did you get involved now, or you were busy, weren't you?
I tried, but like I can't. I mispronounce card names as I'm playing the card, so I'm not going to be. It took me a month to call Dungeon Guide instead of calling it Dungeon Master.
You really didn't say it right.
Oh no, so I'm not going to win that tournament.
For the first month, Chris, Gaz called Dungeon Guide, Dungeon Master, Dungeon Keeper. I think you called maybe even Gravekeeper at some point. You were just. Yeah. I thought it was at a point where he was just deliberately not calling it the right name, but he just didn't. He just doesn't read the cards. I guess.
I'm one of the players that glimpses a card as he plays it, so I roughly know what it's doing, what it's called.
Yeah, this will do. Yeah, why not? Yeah. Okay. But yeah, we had the art. Guess the Art event on this week. I tried to get involved. I'm not good with that stuff. It was so hard. The devs did a great job to change colors of cards, and there was one card that was black. You could see it only if you clicked on it. Oh, it was so fun. There were so many people getting involved. I got 1 point, but I'm not gonna lie. Gio told me what it was. I stole that point off him after it. So I was sitting there, and I'm just like, I had stuff ready to type, and then I'd be I just didn't know what they were. It was so hard, but it was a fun event. A lot of people did get involved with it, which was good.
I mean, quite honestly speaking, in your position, even having been part of the team that designed the set, I probably would have as part of a time guessing.
Right. And like, there was one that was like, I think he did Banner Knight, or whoever did it, Athildar, he did Banner Knight 3 times in a row. And I was like, there's no way this is Banner Knight again. I'm like, nah, no way. And then it was Banner Knight again. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
It was
he likes trolling. He likes trolling.
Yeah, 100%.
It was the ambassador of Banner Knight too, so you should have got that one. It's disappointing.
I don't want to talk about it. It hurts me still. Oh man. So we're probably, as we said last podcast, coming to Ascent. We're going to be coming to Houston to hopefully commit to play in Ascent. When do you come to Australia, Chris?
Oh, probably not for some time.
Wow. I mean, even though you aren't coming, I think that we wanted to play a little game with you while you're here. We've seen it elsewhere. It's quite fun. So we've got some Australian slang for you. So what we'll do is we'll say a sentence, and you've got to try and figure out what the Australian slang means.
Before we say, have you ever been to Australia? Have you got any?
Australia.
You haven't been?
My closest relationship with Australia is knowing a friend that moved there for a job, and then he gets to know all the Australian jargon.
Okay.
Ah, there you go. So hopefully, hey, you might have a secret Australian slang reading. Who knows? Gaz, you've got some ready, yeah?
Yep, I've got a couple ready.
All right. Let's give it a
go. This hand is cactus.
This hand is cactus?
Yeah.
Keepable?
Nah, it's not a good hand.
It means it's the worst hand you could possibly have.
It's a dead hand.
All right, I got one for you.
Right.
All you need to do is play a Crave Shock, and Bob's your uncle.
Oh, we know Bob's your uncle. I use that all the time.
Ah, damn. It's everywhere then.
Yeah.
Right, go for it, guys.
I'm not going to Ascent to fuck spiders.
I have no idea. To what?
I'm not going to Ascent to fuck spiders.
Like no way in hell you do that.
Close, but it's like I'm going there to win. I'm not
I'm
going
serious
there.
business.
Yeah, this is
Serious business.
Okay, gotcha.
This is a cooked game.
What am I looking for? Like it's in the bag.
No, so cooked game means
No?
I'm done. I'm done for. It's over. Like this is cooked.
Oh,
I'm done with.
okay.
um,
But come on, you've got one. You've got Bob's your
You've
uncle.
got one.
Apparently that wasn't Australian slang. So
Lime has a Buckley's chance to win at Ascent.
He has a what?
Buckley's chance.
A Buckley's chance?
Yeah.
I don't know that one. I couldn't even guess.
No chance.
no chance. Zero. Zero. Any
then-
other ones, guys?
The last one, if someone's like cracked the shit, what's happened?
Crack the shit, huh?
Yeah.
Crack the shits. He's cracked it. He's cracked the shits.
He's figured it out.
No,
The opposite.
he's a
lost
bit salty.
plot.
He's
cracked
very
it.
salty.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
not, he's
So basically, all of them have been the opposite of what I think.
That's all right. Hey, eventually when you do come to Australia, hopefully we do have events here and you guys are coming. We're gonna have to sit you down and have like some Aussie slang lessons or something.
I
Yeah,
found
for
that
sure.
like me talking in the Discord, some people are comprehending or not comprehending that we do speak English in Australia.
Yeah, 100%. Sometimes I'll say something and they're like, "Wait, you really mean that?" I'm like, "Nah, it's just like a jargon that we just throw out. It's no big deal." It's hilarious,
Idiomatic language is always fun.
right? And I'm also excited. I've never been to America before, so I'm happy to come and I'm want to come learn some slang and see some stuff in America. So
You can start referring to you all as y'all like we do here.
y'all, right? Exactly. We never
Yeah.
use that here.
And instead of saying you all would have, y'all can say y'all div. That's a
Y'all
fun one.
div. I've never heard that before.
I don't think I'm going to
Y'all
try.
div. Yeah.
Yeah, y'all
Y'all
never
div.
heard that one.
There you go. You used it. Jeez, there you go. I think that I have no idea about America too much, but Texas does have a lot more slang in it than other states. Yeah, it's like a lot more slang heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's big enough to be its own country, right? It
There
was
you
a
go.
republic once.
there you go. There you go. So yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Chris. I think we've got some really good information in regards to rule sets, in regards to meta, in regards to where you're from and your background. We do appreciate you coming on. Hopefully down the track we can have you back to follow up on other metas and stuff like that, or have events, etc. Gaz, thank you once again for being on the podcast. Episode 2 in the bag. Hopefully episode 3 next week.
That's it. See you
That's
guys.
the plan. See ya. Ciao.
Have a good night.